Hi there, I'm Ken Thompson and I'm going to give you a very short demo of the restricted use free version of Coffee Shop Compete. The basic scenario is Coffee Shop Compete allows between 2 to 6 teams, each consisting of 5 to 10 players, to represent a coffee stall in an artisan food market, competing over 4 trading days. So it's head-to-head competition between teams. It's web-based. Teams can all be in the one location, or each team could be in a different location. And it takes about 2 hours to play. It's facilitated, it's easy to facilitate, and it explores business acumen, strategy, and team dynamics. The basic rules, and what I'm showing you here is the briefing pack that's made available to facilitators. First of all, each team must make a pricing decision. And there's some rules there about maximum pricing and also break-even pricing. So the opportunity to understand price elasticity and also price break-even as well. Also customer loyalty, also cartel behavior. Quite a lot in the pricing. Customer strategy, then you get a choice of 4 strategies. You get a boost if your strategy is unique. If you decide to change your strategy, you get a switching cost. So you have to be careful in the choice of your strategy. Management priorities, then, this addresses one of the biggest problems in businesses, that they have a good strategy but they fail to execute. So your sales will get an execution boost if your management priorities align well with your chosen strategy. Finally, market development, in other words collaboration. There's an opportunity for the teams to collaborate, to do something for the common good. Any team who chooses to do that takes the cost themselves, but everybody gets the benefit. So there's an interesting dynamic there about whether to do something for the common good or not, such as hire a brass band to come down the high street or come into the market and attract more potential customers. So I'm going to demo it very quickly, but just to reinforce it, you set your price, you come up with your customer strategy, you have a choice of 4. You come up with your first and second management priorities to implement the strategy, and you decide whether you wish to do any market development or not. So let's have a look at what it looks like. I'm logged in here, and we see there's the 4 different teams, and in this example they're called the names of well-known high street coffee shops, but literally they can be called anything. In the full version, they can be any kind of business entity, and we can have additional decisions and ad hoc questions at the end of each round. But this is kind of a fixed off-the-shelf version. So let's say I'm representing the stall called Costa. I click on Costa, and basically the facilitators at the front of the room, this is all projected on the big screen, so the teams are given some time to get organized, and I'll briefly talk about that at the end, and then they've got to make their 4 decisions. And the easiest way to do it is that each team writes out its 4 decisions and brings them up to the front, and when all the decisions are in, the facilitator puts them in on the screen. Obviously you don't want one team seeing another team's decision before they submit, so for example they could undercut them in price. So let's say we're Costa then. Costa team have to decide on their price for a cup of coffee, and say for example I put £2.46, and you can adjust this as you like, as it down to £2.40. They then have to decide on their strategy, and I'm going to pick customer coffee excellence. If I have a coffee excellence strategy, then obviously if everybody has that strategy, there's no advantage, but also I've got to implement the strategy, and coffee excellence is probably supported by maybe a branding management priority and possibly a procurement management priority. Then the final thing I can do or elect not to do is whether I'm going to do any collaboration. Remember, I take the cost, but everybody gets the benefit. So there's opportunities for the teams to talk among each other. So I'm going to invest in a food court and some internal seating. So I make my decisions. If the system works out, if you say you've only got you can play up to 6 teams. The system works out how many teams you're actually playing. So if I only put 2 teams in, there'll only be 2 teams playing. So if I go to Starbucks, and the same sort of thing, I'm going to be random here. Nero, something else, and then giraffe. So I've got all the decisions in. Teams have made their decisions. They haven't seen each other's decisions. Then all the facilitator has to do is hit the big submit button. Asks you to check, have you really got all their decisions in? And you mightn't hear it, but there's a little drum roll to bring the tension up. So we see what everybody's done on price. And we see, for example, in this case, Costa got 62.6% of the market share. They didn't have the lowest price, so that's quite interesting. So it's not just price determines market share. They got the bulk of the sales revenue and nearly all of the profits. So those are the high-level charts. We've got numbers as well. So the teams can, if you like numbers and tables, the teams can also look at it this way. And the little insights at the bottom, for example, say that Costa did well on strategy and did well on execution, but nobody else did in that, as well as a good pricing explains why they did so well. At the end of each round also, you get a summary of the different teams' decisions. So you can see what everybody did. And when I'm running this, I would normally say, would the teams like to see each other's decisions? They nearly always say yes, but remember, this is competitive, but it really is for learning. So you play 4 rounds and you go right through to the end, going back to the charts. And in the last round then, you can also click on and get the year to date. So the 4 periods total, which can reveal a very different story than what has happened in an individual period. You can also toggle down into more detail as well. So that's the basic idea. One large screen projected to everybody. Teams are all writing their decisions on paper, bring them up to the front, facilitator puts them in. So let's go back then. So show you typical agenda, set it up, brief the teams, give a little demo. Always good to get the teams to do some planning before they play a sim like this. How are they going to plan it? How are they going to organize themselves as teams? I like to let the teams make statements, 30-second statements. Bit of fun, gets everybody recognizing the other teams. They can choose to be intimidating, a shock and awe strategy, or they can choose to be warm and cuddly. And often the team that gets into the lead gets a target on their back and all the other teams attack them. So there's interesting learning here about relationships and reputation. Then we play each of the 4 rounds. Teams make their decisions and submit. Give them about 10 minutes for that. We reveal the results, then give the teams some time to discuss. What did they do well? What did they do badly? And then go into the next round. At the end of the sim, if you have time, each team should then collect their main insights and share a little presentation with the other teams. That's when the learning really gets consolidated. Teams can come up with roles. Here's a little page in the briefing about whether you can leave the roles fluid or you can give the teams this as a suggestion. There's also a checklist for how to get yourself organized as a team. The teams that do the best planning invariably do well. The teams that waste the planning session don't do so well. And then the typical learning points from a compete simulation, and there's 20 or 30 different learning points come up, but these are the 7 most common. First of all, what are your goals and objectives? Some teams will be trying to do well financially. That's a sensible business objective. Some teams will be trying to beat the other teams into the ground. That's maybe not a great business objective. If you have a strategy, stick to it or change it, but don't ignore it. Strategy needs to be executed. One of the biggest problems in business is execute it through your priorities. We often collaborate far too little. When we play this generally, a lot of teams avoid the market development for no rational reason other than they don't fancy collaboration. Great learning there for leaders and teams. Reputation and relationships always matter. Never accidentally make an enemy. You don't have to win every battle to win a war. It's how you finish rather than how you start. And actually, teams can become relatively high performing in a very short time if they stick to the basics: goals, roles and rules. That's one of the learnings. The team at the end is far, far superior than each team at the beginning. So that's a bit of an overview. It can be played in 2 hours, and we will send you out a little pack with your own URL, with your own login and password, with a briefing note you can share with the teams, and this little video which shows you how to facilitate it. So good luck and have fun with it.